Not any new news. We know for sure that Klopp left. But you know what was much more interesting when Klopp announced that he's leaving? Is the fact that Xavi is also leaving Barcelona. And by no chance was that not that is not coincidental. We've known. We thought actually he was going to stay for quite long. But I think also the mistakes that were made, they were not on his own. The mistake that were made was also partly the club itself. We know the club is in debt for 1.3 billion pounds. But when they started messing up when they signed Lewandowski as a striker, and they started buying guys like Aubameyang, guys who left Arsenal due to disciplinary issues. Buying very old strikers is never a good strategy for teams' growth, especially when it's a legendary team and your rival is busy going out there on the marketplace, like buying all the young Brazilians wherever they are. And that I feel like in Brazil now it's just like a thing. It's a thing now where they say, oh, okay, cool, he's a Brazilian, he plays for a Brazilian team, we're going to overcharge every single person who comes to buy the player. Like Real Madrid, who pay like an outrageous amount of money to buy players. But if you've been looking at Real Madrid for the past few seasons, you also notice that the reason why they got the best team that they have now is because of the other investments they made in young players. The investments they did when they were purchasing certain players. And I'm talking about players such as Vinicius Jr., even though he's been there for a while. But now he's much better and he's young. We have got Rodrigo in that team. Young player, doing good. They also, now obviously they purchased Bellingham, who's killing it in the midfield. They also had Valverde, a player who's so diverse. He can play any position. He can play right back, he can play center mid, he can play wing. And they purchased Tchouameni, Camavinga. And when they got these players, they still had Toni Kroos, who was able to mentor these players. They still had Marcelo, who was still able to get these players to be better. And right now, when you look at the opposite rival, like Barcelona's playing the most boring soccer I've ever seen them play. While as Real Madrid, they play the best soccer they've been playing. Barcelona, they're having a very difficult time to even defeat Atletico Madrid. They're having a hard time even defeating a very small team that came from the bottom, and they are leading the league now, Girona. They're playing the worst soccer I've ever seen, and I don't blame Xavi for wanting to leave, because the club, they can't really make any purchases. The only way they can, even though they're making so much revenue, because the fact that that money is going to pay the debt, the only players they can afford to pay to buy is when they do offload some of their heavy assets, such as De Jong, when they sell like bigger other players, and they also have like so much injuries. Gavi is injured. They're playing, what's his name, one of their best center backs as a right back. It's very bad for Barcelona. It's when you watch a Clásico nowadays, it's no longer the old Clásico that we're used to, the ones with Ronaldo and the one with Messi in the team. It's no longer the same El Clásico. And it's just, Barcelona just a shell. They've got all the fan base. They will make all the amount of revenue when it comes to selling jerseys and tickets. And they're still renovating their field, which is going to cost them quite a lot of money. But then the club is struggling so bad, and they're playing the worst type of football I've ever seen. There's no longer that element of tiki-taka that Pep Guardiola left. Even though like Xavi did implement his own style of play, it's just so dull to even watch it. It's not interesting to watch Barcelona play. There's no longer that anticipation of wanting to watch Barcelona play. It's not the same feeling. Like when I go watch Real Madrid, I don't support Real Madrid, but when I go watch Real Madrid, there's such an element of excitement, because you see the youngsters, they're full of energy, they're running, they're so skillful, they're talented. And then you go look at Barcelona, you're like, it's like you went from up here and then you just went from below, So I understand why Xavi is leaving, because there is nothing much he can do for the club. There is nothing more he can do to improve it. And he can't buy whatever he wants to buy. The only things he can get is probably loans. And Lewandowski has not scored anything I don't know since when. So it's tough game for him. He has to find a new club. And I think I don't blame him. Something, when you know the ship is going down, I think sometimes it's just much better to just, grab a rafter and just, swim away before it actually sinks.